Hi, Sneha. Happy 2021 to all of you and all the participants joining us today. And I hope you had some time off in the last week in December and are back now with full swing in 2021. So looking forward to more Women at Work sessions in 2021.
Thank you, Niti. Okay, so we are live and a very, very warm welcome to everyone once again. Welcome to the Sipping Thoughts Women at Work series in partnership with Qween. I'm Sneha Boobna, the host for the discussion today, and we're going to talk about jobs in 2021 and what we should know to stay ahead of the curve. We have been in this dilemma since the beginning of the pandemic, and we have a lot of unanswered questions. And we thought, what better time to find the answers and retrospect than the beginning of the year? Today, with me, I have a panel of three women who are going to help us navigate this ever changing scenario, especially in the face of the pandemic. To quickly introduce the panel, I have Shikha Bharucha, who's a talent management advisor, an independent consultant, and an executive coach. Welcome, Shikha.
Thank you, Sneha. Thank you, everyone. And hi, Happy New Year. Very excited to join this discussion today with a very interesting lineup of panelists along with me. And just a quick introduction, I am an executive coach and a talent management consultant, currently a freelancer. So we'll be exploring and understanding how we can share some of our learnings with you along the way.
Thank you, Shikha. We're very excited to hear your thoughts today. So our second panelist is Bandhamukta, who is the founder of Xplore-me Consulting. She is also an international trainer and coach and an emotional intelligence expert. Welcome, Bandhamukta.
Thank you, Sneha. Thank you for this wonderful opportunity. And hello, everyone. Wish you a happy new year. And yes, I know that we'll be having a great discussion ahead. So stay tuned.
Thank you. Lastly, we have Niti Jain, who's a co-founder of Qween. They are pioneers in helping women find suitable roles with a focus on starting second careers and work from home opportunities. And they have a network of over 60,000 women. So we're very, very excited, Niti, to hear your thoughts during this pandemic, what is changing and what can change.
Thanks, Sneha. Look forward to this session. I think you've already given a good brief about me, and welcome everyone and happy 2021.
Thank you, Niti. So I think without wasting a lot of time, I am going to jump onto the first point. We have so many questions today. And even to the audience, if you have questions, keep writing them down and we will try picking up some of them at least through the show. So the first point that I would like to bring up today is about the job market, obviously. And according to you, what are the job markets that will grow and which might suffer in 2021, given that the pandemic is not over yet? Shikha, maybe we start with you.
Sure, absolutely. I think the one industry where we've seen continuous growth is the IT sector. Automation, digitization, I mean, you name it, everybody is trying to go online, whether it's small businesses that need apps or, just individual women entrepreneurs who've started off working from home, with some sort of experimental business idea that they've come up with. A lot of folks are looking at digitizing their business. So I think that's a sector that is clearly doing better than many others. I'll let some of the others share what their views are.
I also think the fintech space with a lot of digitalization in the financial industry, anything to do with machine learning, AI, or anything to do with technology, as Shikha already mentioned, but also the education space is going to pick up and has probably already taken up because a lot of people want to now upskill themselves and all the education institutions have gone online. So education, edtech, and fintech, I think, are the two new spaces to look up for in 2021.
Yes, and adding on to it, I think people who are skilled with digital marketing skills, or who are into branding and promotion, product management, program management, they also have good chances of getting good jobs in this year. And other than that, I think telecommunications is one industry which is really booming, because technology and telecommunication, in even in the period of pandemic, I think they were the one. And with the arrival of 5G, or the fifth generation wireless technology, I think it will boost this broadband strength and connectivity. So yes, and it is also estimated that this industry of 5G itself could create 22.3 million jobs in future. So yes, apart from that, I think even healthcare is one industry which is going to boom, and I think rest of it, most of it has been already set. So these industries, I think, are going to see a boom in the coming year and couple of years to come.
Yeah. Personally, from my experience as well, I think consulting is picking up again. Of course, we also were at a little bit of a standstill, but to take all the projects forward, a lot of consulting firms are being hired, and depending on the expertise. One aspect that being in India, we obviously had a lot of outsourced jobs. How do you think that's going to change, since the boundaries are not going to be there anymore?
So I'll answer that here, Sneha, is I think the outsourcing is going to increase a lot more, because a lot more corporates have realized that work from home does work, which means not being in the country, in the primary or the headquartered country is needed anymore. So they have already built the technology up, or have the software tools, and also a little bit of confidence in remote working, which is kind of going to help India with its outsourcing business. So I think outsourcing will pick up a lot more in India. At least I hope.
Yeah, that actually brings me, to the key question of 2020: is work from home here to stay?
I definitely think work from home is here to stay, maybe a hybrid model. It might not be a complete work from home that we've seen in the pandemic, beginning of the pandemic in May or June, or April, but it might be a hybrid model where companies are requesting their employees to come in a couple of days in the office and then work from home for 2 or 3 days in the week. It's definitely important to also have the face time. It helps with team building. Also, the motivation of the employees is a lot more when they are in the office, at least for a couple of days. I think both extremes, completely from office or completely from home, doesn't work as well. So a hybrid model with whatever different ratios companies can come up with is here to stay for a few years, or maybe the
So
next.
yes,
That's the new
definitely, and
forever.
as rightly said by Niti, I think a hybrid model will definitely work, because when the lockdown happened, people were really happy working with home. But as the euphoria, it was there at its peak, at the start. But then later on, we see that the millennials and the Generation Z, uh, they might not like working from home continuously, because they find their social life is just tied to the work. Their working hours has been expanded, and it is also seen that there's a 13% increase in meetings. So definitely only work from home would not be a better option, but I think there will be a hybrid model wherein both work from home and whenever necessary for interaction, that will also be there. So I think that would be the scenario.
Yeah, I agree. I think the hybrid model is what is going to work. I do think employers are now starting to see the benefit of remote work. So overhead costs and infrastructural costs. I think given the current state we are in, I think a lot of organizations are going to try and reduce those costs in some shape or form, which just means that I think there is going to be a more push for remote work for the jobs that can handle that. Of course, for other essential services, etc., we know people have still continued to work even through the pandemic. I think just in terms of how one manages their work life and balances that with home life. I think that's a whole different skill set, which I'm sure each one of us has learned over the last 8 months. And I think that's just everybody's trying to figure things out. So it will be interesting to see how we make this work over the next few months as well.
Yeah. For one, really do hope that it's the hybrid model which is here to stay, and we are not stuck in any of the extremes. And personally, I'm already seeing it, especially in my company. We're getting rid of the idea of dedicated seats, because it seems like even in the midterm, we are not going back to office all the time. So when you have limited space, you can actually reduce your costs and let people be home a little bit, not maybe 100%, and have online tools where you can book your seats. So I do think it's here, to move to a little bit of a hybrid model. But on to the next point, I know a few people as well who were thinking of a job change before the pandemic started, and a lot of people then did pause the idea. What are your opinions? That is it a good time to look for a change? Should you think about changing your field if your sector has been affected negatively due to the pandemic, or should you stay put?
Yeah, I think I'll go ahead. I think that job losses, there has been a lot of tremendous job loss over the period, and people are planning to change the industry. But there are certain things that they have to take into consideration. Job changes, yes, good, but they have to evaluate overall. So first is they have to have that skill or that new certifications, they have to get it done, which is in demand. Then they have to learn to handle cross-functional jobs, which is very important. It's now the old, the traditional way that, okay, if you're a finance guy, you can handle only financing, is no longer there. Employers are looking at people who have a cross-functional skills. So that is very important. They have to evaluate and re-evaluate their job search. They have to try to find more about what kind of jobs they are looking at, what are their goals. Then they have to create a diverse portfolio. They have to really work on their portfolio as to how will they approach the organizations. Then and also reassess, as I said, they have to reassess their role skills and try to reacquire or acquire new skills. And I think networking is also one of the key, which is very important, when they are trying to change their industry or a job. And last but not the least, I'm not saying this because I'm a career coach, but yes, to have a good mentor and a career coach is very important, who can guide them through this a very big decision that they are going to make in their lives.
Also, to answer Sneha's question again, it's important to see which industry you are in, to decide whether you want to make a job change or not, and what kind of a role you are in. A junior role or a mid manager or a senior position. Before you think about making a switch, I think it's important to see what sector you are in, and where you really want to go in the long term perspective. A switch just because your industry is not doing well right now might not end up being your long-term career goal. So depending on what you want to do and what your passions are, it's important to consider the job switch based on those factors, I think. So even though you're a finance graduate, um, or maybe not a finance, but if you're in the hospitality industry and you think it's not doing great at the moment, but if you see yourself growing in that career in 5 years, or that's where you want it to be, then just considering a short-term career switch might not be the right move.
Yeah, just to add to Niti's point, if you're looking at shifting industries and you just don't have a choice because your current industry has been impacted negatively by the pandemic, reassessing where you are at, and whenever you take on a new role in a new industry, number of years of experience comes into play. So assessing that before you take that leap of faith and are willing to move on would be very important. And I'm sure one would do their research to find out what does it take to be successful, understand what are employers looking for, looking back at your resume and reassessing, what is it that I want to highlight about my experiences, about the achievements you've had. I think those would be some key aspects to look at.
So it's interesting, some when I hear all of you, the common thread is doing your homework and retrospecting. So it should not be a short-term decision. You actually have to think, what do you want to do in the long term, and not make decisions just because there is a change in the environment. It will happen every now and then, but you have to make a decision which makes sense. And one of the points that came up was about networking. And we hear this so often. In an offline environment, it seemed rather easy to network. Yes, you go out, ask someone for a cup of coffee, and there's a lot about body language. How does one network effectively right now?
I think we've all used and overused LinkedIn, I would say. I think that seems to be the most convenient way to reach out to a large network. Don't be afraid to just ask for a connect. Certainly explore your own network, but leverage people who are still not in your network but seem to have a common interest. I think that's absolutely fair, and I think all of us have experienced that at some point, especially more so during the pandemic. I can say Sneha and Niti have reached out to me, and we have had no interaction before this. So this is a great way. This is, I think, what you folks are doing is absolutely the right direction for us to move in. This is how we connect. This is how we find opportunities. This is how we support one another. So I think this would be a perfect example of how you can reach out to people who are not already in your network.
Yeah, reinforcing that, LinkedIn is the best way to network with people. They might be connects of your connects, they not necessarily be your first connects, but doesn't matter if you can also get an introduction from someone else helping you connect with the other person. That might also be a good way. Don't shy from reaching out to your connect to help you connect with their connect. It might be a second or a third connect as well. But more than also LinkedIn, there are a lot of webinars and seminars happening now. So I think a lot of webinars are free as well. So taking advantage of these webinars, which normally we would pay for in a physical event, to go to, I think is also a great opportunity at this point to attend these webinars and seminars, educational seminars as well. And then if you're specifically looking to connect with somebody and you see that person is hosting a seminar, make an attempt to join that seminar, ask a question, introduce yourself, don't shy.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I myself have been surprised to the kind of responses I get. Sometimes it's connecting to somebody who I just came across, and I said, "Hey, I heard your talk today, and I thought it was great, and I feel like we could connect and we could stay connected." And people respond. So for me, it's been more of a pleasant surprise than otherwise. It feels odd to do it, but it works. So the other aspect that comes to this is when we're talking about networking, and that's one of the things you do. But what are the other significant changes that job seekers can expect in 2021?
So I'll just have a few points here. Is there's a lot of virtual interviews that's going to happen in the future. So be prepared for that. A lot of first round and second round interviews would never happen in office or in person. They'll all be virtual, is what the industry is talking about at the moment. So be prepared to go for a virtual interview. And there are other points that I think we'll discuss at a later stage on how do you prepare for a virtual interview. But that's an important change that's probably going to happen is on virtual interviews. And like we've already spoken about, networking, connecting with people, connecting with people not only just on LinkedIn but maybe other platforms that you can. So or even direct emails work the best sometimes. So if you are able to just get your hands on the email of the person you're really trying to connect with and just introducing yourself, and maybe not a direct, okay, I need a job with your company, but trying to introduce yourself and your skills, and then just later mentioning a statement that it's nice connecting with you, but if at any point there is an opportunity that I could be a good fit, let's connect at that point, would be a good introductory email that you could send out as well. I'll give Shikha and Bandhamukta some.
I think one other trend we're seeing in the market now is pro bono work. So if you don't end up finding opportunities for paid work, I know for a fact there are a lot of opportunities. There are small businesses looking for content writers or for people who would create a web page for them, and they're looking for pro bono work. As you know, everybody is in a financial crux at this point, and if you are at a stage where you have a gap and you are taking a break from work and you're sort of preparing to get back into the workforce, volunteering, pro bono work, I think those are great opportunities. And from a networking perspective as well, you put yourself out there and build more connects.
I think one of the trends that's really catching up in recruitment process is gamification. So some companies are adopting the values of gamification to stay relevant in the recruiting market. So the job seekers have to be ready to undergo these kind of, it might be some kind of aptitude test only, but in the form of gamification. So the job seekers have to be ready for these kind of new things. Earlier there was some kind of assessments which also will be there and will continue to be there, like aptitude and all that, but it will be in a little different way. Then they also have to they have to be really creative. They have to be persuasive, because if you're talking one on one with a person when you are meeting physically, it's totally different, to put a point for. But in a virtual environment, whenever there is some kind of a recruitment happening, the time given would be really less. The interview might be like for 15-20 minutes, in which they have to really showcase everything that they have done. So they have to really focus really hard on their elevator speech, how they are going to introduce themselves, how are they going to talk about the work that they have already done. So yes, this will really affect the recruitment process in future.
I think that already answers a question that was put up by Vandana on the chat, and but if there are any additional points to this, it'll be great. How will pandemic affect the freshers, interns, and the just out of college where hands-on experience is required?
So I think Shikha's
Yeah.
point on volunteering and Pronovo is going to help them put some kind of experience. There's a lot of other websites as well which are giving them live project experiences, which is going to give them which can help them get the experience needed for a fresher, applying for jobs as freshers. I think that's an important point to consider, whether you can volunteer or you can do some life projects, if not an internship, before you do your internship. So, and the more you market yourself, the more you can help others. That's what is really going to help you get your first job.
Yeah, I think that's a great point, Niti. Social media presence is what I think everybody is trying to work on. I'm sure each one of us can, completely improve our game there, but that would be one way to position yourself. Your resume, of course, is, your trademark, and how you position that is another area. But to Niti's point, pro bono work, volunteering. In fact, I know organizations would probably look at interns and freshers more so than senior experienced professionals because of a cost perspective. So hopefully, as we see the market get better, we've already seen a bit of an upward trend in the last 3 months or so. So I think there may be, in the next 6 months, at least there's a hope that there will be a bit more traction in terms of hiring beginning. We've already seen a bit of that coming in the last few months.
Yeah, I think personally as well,
I
I
would
feel
give a
sometimes we underestimate the importance of voluntary work or internships, and it's very important to be in action rather than just planning, and we can keep planning, but eventually the more we've done, and a lot of other aspects, whether it was the best, not the best, is secondary, but just being in action sometimes is more important. Sorry, Bandhamukta, I think I interrupted you.
No, that's all right. So I was just saying that, since I think these people who are, going to start afresh, or who are just, on the verge of completing their post-graduation or anything. So I think this situation is very ideal for them, because they can do not only one but 3 to 4 projects at one time because everything is online. So it's a great opportunity for them. So instead of wasting their time on other things, they can just spend a lot of time reading and trying to grab whatever good projects come into their hands. It's not necessary that if a person is from marketing background, he has to do only that kind of project, because that will no longer remain the trend. People are looking for cross-functional people. So whatever good project that comes into your, kitty, just grab it and do it, because most of it is going to be online. So that is a small tip that I can give to them.
I just want to add that when we're talking about internships, it necessarily doesn't has to be a free internship. There are a lot of paid internships and volunteering work as well, which you get like a stipend, not like a full salary, but there's a lot of paid internships out there. So look out for paid internships as well. I'm not a person who really encourages to work for free, especially when you're very skilled and you can get the right job.
That's a great point, Niti, because that makes me think about salary negotiations. So, one is about, of course, freshers, but in general, the minute somebody is thinking of the next step, at the back of your mind, you are always thinking about salary negotiations or appraisals. And right now, the expectations are not very clear. And at the same time, you have a certain skill set. So, how do you balance this?
So, when you are reaching out to employers and you can prove yourself, maybe it happens that you start with a free internship. But as soon as the employer realizes that you're good enough, you are putting in your effort, you are dedicated, and you're able to give them the outcomes required, they are happy to pay you. There's nobody, then they're going to be, I would say there will be very few employers who just want you to work for free. But if you can prove yourself, you will get paid for the work that you've done. And it's from personal experience. I have a few interns who work for me, and it's also in the benefit of employers to pay the interns or juniors, because they are more motivated and they give their 100% or more than 100% to the job. So it's when it comes to salary negotiation, whether you're an intern or an experienced um, uh, employee, don't underestimate your skills, but obviously do your homework as well. Don't think, do the homework for the industry that you're applying in, do the homework for the particular role you're applying for the particular company you're applying for. So how much are other people getting paid? What is the average in the industry? You don't always have to be at the bottom. You could also be the top one and still get the job, depending on your skills and how well you can prove yourself. So don't underestimate your skills and your worth. Most important, don't underestimate your worth. I'll really stress on that.
So
uh, Go ahead.
yeah, as rightly said by Niti. So when it comes to negotiation, I feel that research and data are our best friends. So you should understand the value of doing your research well and having data to back up your point of view in the job search. It will be from the interview to the salary negotiation, the entire thing. And once you have already crossed the interview phase and you are already on the salary negotiation, that means the employer wants you or he's already selected you. So I don't, at that point of time you should really think that whatever they are offering, is it right for me? Do I does it really give what I deserve? So that's the point. You should not forego, or you should not compromise that much on the next salary thing if you really feel that you are worth it.
So it's a great point, about doing the research and data being your best friends. But how does one start? I mean, even because salary is not something that I can just give you a call and say, okay, how much are you really earning? Or even more difficult when you don't know people straight up in that position. How do you, what other sources you use? Shikha, do you want to jump in on this?
Sure, absolutely. I think we've all heard of, most of us would have used Glassdoor at some point. That's certainly an area, a place where you can go to research organizations and different range of salaries. I think from personal experience as well, I've had a few family folks or friends who have been looking for jobs during the pandemic as well. It's obviously challenging to figure out, what's that right amount that we want to ask for. So what we've seen worked well is a range. So go with a range based on the research that you've done. The experience that you bring in, the industry that you're opting for, the kind of level that you're coming in at. There are job search agencies who also have a lot of this insight. If you signed up with one of them, they would obviously give you some recommendations. Recruiters typically would have that insight as well. So that's sort of a starting point. But your experience and your worth is something that only you know, but you have to realize organizations are also working with limited budget at this point. So especially going back to your earlier question around job change, be very clear at this point, what is your motivation for a change of job? Is it because you are bored? Is it because of a financial constraint? Is it because you're looking for growth? I think a lot of that needs to, you really need to take that time to understand, is this the right time for you to do that? And then, of course, your salary comes into play after that.
Have we lost Sneha?
Yeah, I think she's have some having some internet connections, I guess. So let us continue with the discussion.
Sure. So I think our next question was how to handle the process of searching remote jobs, remote job opportunities, and what things should you keep in mind for applying for a work from home opportunity. So I think Bandhamukta, you have some great ideas on that.
So, when we are looking for remote jobs online, job boards are one of the places where we can check. There are a lot of portals which are, displaying opportunities to remote working. So that is one thing. Second is you have to create your own portfolio with self-directed projects. Like for example, if you're knocking at the door of a marketing company, then you have to showcase whatever marketing projects or in the earlier job, if you've done something related to that, you have to showcase that. So I'm not saying that you have to hide or lie or something, but we do so many things in our that journey education journey, so we should be able to understand where which point to highlight to which employer. So depending on a company, what kind of people they really want, we have to highlight our skills accordingly. And as I said that it's very important to polish our elevator speech, because the time will really be less. Even if you have meetings or even if you're presenting something, that is one challenge which people have. Even if you're presenting something, you have to be very sure which portal you want to use, because you will have to share your screen. You will have to do everything on your own. You might not have people to do. Sometime you might have, sometime you will have to do it alone. So people, these freshers or people who are, trying to work remotely, they have to get well equipped with technology a lot, and learn everything, like, how to reduce your talking and how to showcase, show your presentation, share your screen, blah, 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 and all of those things.
Sure.
Yeah, Shikha.
Yeah, I think the whole work from home etiquette, right? I think we're all, again, we've learned as we've gone along. I think your internet connectivity, we've had those challenges as well. Also, I think for women personally, speaking from experience again, when we have such formal meetings or connects with clients, if you know you are going to be busy for that, let's say 1 hour, making sure that you have that dedicated time to yourself to avoid any distractions. Of course, we are aware family comes into play. If you have children, one of them might run in at any point. My kid might just run in at this point, since I don't have help. So those are real world problems, right? We're all dealing with that. But employers do understand, clients do understand. If there is a one-off situation, nothing to worry. You're not you just have to excuse yourself. You have to ask for permission to say, well, may I go on mute, or may I just switch off my video? So I think there's a bit of that work from home etiquette that we all, once you get into it, you observe others demonstrating that, and you kind of learn. But I think those are some aspects I would keep in mind if you are looking for specifically remote work from home opportunities.
Also, just going back on the process of application, if you're applying for jobs at the moment, like I said before, you be prepared for virtual interviews, whether it's from the technical perspective, making sure you have the good internet connection, and like Shikha said, have a good dedicated time slot available for that interview. Also, a lot more focus is now happening on the technical skills as well. So if you're applying for a particular job, make sure you are very updated with the new technology, with the new news in the industry that's come up. So don't just be prepared for a very I would say a brief interview. It could get into a very technical interview virtually as well. So be prepared for those interviews and arrive on time for the interview, I think, is the most important point as well. Even though it might be a virtual interview, arriving at that interview virtually on time, before time rather, is very, very important. So preparing for the interview from these perspectives is important. Also, upskilling yourself at this point is a good point to note, because a lot of employers are here to check how did you keep up with the new technology in the last 7 months or the 8 months of the pandemic. Did you take up new skills? Did you learn new things? Whether it's related to your job, sometimes it could also be not related to your job, that you could highlight as well, just to show that you did learn something. Just it kind of shows that you are a learner, and you are a more than just an employee, right? So it kind of helps employers understand that you have the passion to learn and get new things in under you. So whether it's even it could be a baking skill that you picked up, but as long as you can show that you learned something, it might be helpful in the interview.
And just one
great points. Sorry,
yeah.
Bandhamukta.
Yeah, sorry, Sneha. Just one more point just popped up in my mind is that whenever we are, working, or we are having a meeting from home or an interview, it's very important to dress appropriately. Be sure of being dressed in formals, Indian Western, that is all right, but be dressed in formals. I have noticed, many a times it happens that people, especially men or boys, they wear a good shirt, but below they are wearing some kind of bermudas, or some boxers or something. But it might happen that if some interview asks you to stand and present, or talk about yourself, then you might be in a difficult situation. So be dressed appropriately overall, and be sure that you have a contrast background to whatever you're wearing and a good lighting.
These are such interesting points, because again, it's kind of new territory for everyone. We started off the pandemic, we had no idea about Zoom calls or how best to do it. But I also think that yes, this is ever changing, and I think somewhere even companies and recruiters are changing their platforms to have a better experience for the candidates as well. But there is a lot of content available online. There are great points that came out today from the panelists, which one should keep in mind, because it is still about first impressions. It is still about really getting that feel. Do you really like the candidate? And that's never solely about what you speak. It's about how you are dressed, what you present, how do you conduct yourself, how do you react to it, and everything is being observed. So those were great points. One other point that came up was that you guys mentioned this. Can you give us some examples of what are the popular job opportunities for women in the current scenario?
I'll answer that because we're in the women space and providing jobs to women. There are a lot of jobs available for women at this point, especially if you are a fresher. There's a lot of opportunity available in the education space where you could become a teacher from online, um, from home. I meant you could teach online to children not only in India but across the world. And I'm not going to name any particular employer, but there are a lot of opportunities, whether you are a technical teacher or you can teach even art and craft, but there's a lot of opportunities in the education space. There's a lot of opportunities in the digital marketing space, content writing space. A lot of companies are going in, all out with their social media, so they are looking for digital marketing. If you have experience with doing SEO, SEM, it's a great space to be in. Those are fully work from home opportunities. So, I think those opportunities are also, if you want to be into a virtual assistant, that's a great space to be in right now, because a lot of organizations need assistance, but with this condition, it's okay for them to have virtual assistant, and that's a growing field now. If you're a website designer, developer, um, there's a lot of job opportunities in those spaces, in which are completely work from home. And then I won't go into the hospitality industry if you're a baker, chef, and whatnot, but there's a whole lot of new opportunities as entrepreneurs as well. If you want to open up your own business, this is probably the great time.
Shikha, I think you're trying to say something.
Yes, I was just thinking about in the learning and development space, adding on to the education industry. I think LNOD is also looking for content developers, content writers, because a lot of organizations are trying to move a lot of their learning systems or modules online. I think there was already a move in the last, I would say, 5 years or so towards online learning for executives. So I think that's another space. I've been seeing some, opportunities coming up over there. Also, I think just in general, the talent management industry, I think we've been seeing interesting opportunities for bloggers, for research analysts, for HR data analysis. So I think that there could be some of this, if there are people who are here who are freshers who are looking for those, sort of get into the door kind of opportunities, I think those might be some interesting ones as well.
So just to add on whatever Shikha and Niti has said, yes, right, education industry is one thing. But apart from that, even training is another thing, because now everything has become so global. All the trainings have gone online. So you can sit at one place and you might be training people in some other country, just the other side of the globe. So that's become really possible. And I think this is a great opportunity for everyone, not only women and the trainers, but everyone. And second thing is there's a lot of scope for mental health experts, psychologists, therapists, because a lot of people are, this awareness has been created that, it's not necessary to wait till the time you go into depression. But yes, this awareness is there, and people are trying to, find, look for a good therapist or a counselor, mental health expert. So that is also one field when people are, there's a lot of scope for everybody.
When I hear all of you give so many examples, it doesn't feel like there's a pandemic, because it's not like the opportunities don't exist. I think they might have shifted and focused to a few industries, but you just have to look at the right place. So if I
Sorry to cut you off there, Sneha. I just at one point, I think we've seen a big wave of the education industry pick on suddenly, right? I think that's so interesting, because education has been one of those, taken for granted roles. The role of a teacher, of a librarian or an administrator has been taken for granted, but that has clearly picked up. I think they've had the biggest learning curve in the education industry, which is so refreshing to see.
Yeah, I mean, now, companies were striving to be digital, and pandemic has somehow pushed them to it overnight. So it's been interesting to see the move and the new technology that's coming up, even along with these industries. So it's definitely an interesting process. I want to just move to one last point before we open it up to a few questions coming in from the audience. And that is, if I am a job seeker, how do I increase my prospects to finding the right fit? I know some of the points, of course, we've already mentioned and they are applicable here. But if there are specific points to this that we can add, or how do you make most of the time that you have available right now?
I think
I
the
think
first
one
and
of
the
the things.
yes, Shikha. Shikha, please go ahead.
Okay. I think we've talked about this, but maybe to highlight it again, upskilling yourself. There are so many different opportunities out there, whether it's, a formal course online or accessing TED videos on, online. TEDx is a great platform. Of course, there are lots and lots of resources to get on a new skill. If you've had that opportunity, you want to write a book, now is the time to do it, right? If you wanted to explore machine learning or AI and you never had that time when you were working full time, now is the time to do it. So look out for those opportunities and push yourself to make sure that you've leveraged this time that you've had. If you have been out of a job or you've taken a step back to say, well, there's not much for me to do at work, I have enough time. I think that's where organizations are looking for, learning agility, adaptability, dealing with ambiguity. These are things that employers look for in, in people they want to hire. So I would just maybe leave it at that. Those are the areas I would focus on.
And as a being a career coach, the advice or whatever I tell my coaches or my clients is one thing that create a job search plan. That is very important. Don't spend a lot of time on creating a proper plan. Don't have very big goals now. Break your goals into small goals. Which are achievable in like near future. So break your big goals into small goals. And the second thing is cut off your mobile time, social media, surfing time. Spend that time on conducting more and more research on if any particular company you have in mind, or if any industry that you want to have a shift, career shift. Learn maximum that you can learn. And I would like to give a small tip. There is a small technique called as a Pomodoro technique, which is like 20-25 minutes you set apart and you focus and do something creative in that 25 minutes without any distraction. Whatever might be the result, but work on that one dedicated thing for 20 to 25 minutes without any distractions. So I myself do it a lot of times when I get too much of I get distracted, but it helps a lot. So for youngsters especially, that will really help.
Niti.
No, I think we've mentioned most of the point, like upskilling and networking are very key. So, as much as you can network and talk to people, if you are in, whether you're looking to change a job or not, keep networking, because maybe not at this point, but maybe in the future you want to change your job. That's when your network and your connect is going to kind of help you. So talk to people, reach out to people. Um, Maybe there's an opportunity for you to help them, even though you're not looking to do any kind of thing with them at this point. Helping them out with an idea or a point that they're stuck at might help you in the future or in the long term. So I think networking, upskilling, planning your day, like Bandhamukta mentioned, planning and making the most of the time you have are the keys.
Shikha, I would actually like to go back to the point you brought up regarding upskilling and learning. Can you also give a few platforms or at least the known sources that someone can use?
Sure. If you're looking at self-learning, I think if you go on to Google and you look up anything that you want to explore, Udemy is a site, so Udemy. That's one where you have all sorts of different areas that you can explore. If you're interested in coding or anything to do with machine learning or just starting off, code.org is a great resource as well. Code Academy is another great resource. I know that Harvard has put up a lot of their courses. There's some 60 or 70 courses that are available for free. Many such, there is Stanford as well. So if you're exploring learning at this point in self-development, there is no dearth of resources. I think it's about figuring out, why is it that you want to explore this course? How is this going to complement what you already know? If there was a gap and you're trying to cover that, great. But also, how do you remain current? Right? How do you make sure that when you go in for your interviews, you are aware of what are the current trends in the industry, so on and so forth. I do personally use the Harvard Business Review and McKinsey Quarterly to stay up to date with what's happening in the world in different industries. I think those are great resources. But from just knowledge perspective and listening to people talk to broaden your understanding and broaden your horizons, TED.com is a great platform. TEDx videos, if you've ever seen those are usually just 2 or 3 minute ones. I have that app on my phone. I don't sleep unless I've at least seen 3 or 4 of those. It's just very interesting. You can learn presentation skills there. You can learn about a completely complex topic and understand that in a very simple manner in those 3 minute videos that they put on there. So something for everyone.
Yeah. Just to add on, one or two points to add on to what she said is like, apart from gaining technical skill, it's also very important to keep on polishing your soft skills, because soft skills is one thing which will always be there no matter what work you're doing, which industry you're in. That is one thing which will be very important. Language is one thing, but yes, to have, so according to LinkedIn, few following are the most important demand skills in 2021. One is creativity, persuasion, collaboration. I think collaboration is going to play a big role in future. Adaptability, emotional intelligence, how well you understand your emotions and your people around you, so that you have a better relationship with your maybe personal, professional, everything. So yes, please keep on working on your soft skills. That is very important.
No, thank you. Thank you for sharing, some names. I think it does help everyone get a start at least. At one point, I would like to add is that some of these courses, although are paid, are actually available for free if you write a scholarship essay where you say that you cannot pay or you have a financial need, and they do offer these courses to you for free. So I think it's just about exploring. And like Shikha and Bandhamukta both mentioned, it is, of course, about staying relevant and how best to navigate. Why do you need a certain skill? And everything is available at this point online. So with that, I will actually move on to the first question from the audience. We have a question from Khushbu Mehta. Can we unmute her?
Hello. Yeah, so thank you so much. I'm really enjoying the session and all the insightful tips that you are providing to us. Let me just, yeah. So coming back to my question, I just have this for the resume actually. So I'm German teacher and now making a transition towards sustainability, because over the period of time, I realized that SDG or goals or sustainability is going to the next future. So that's what I want to do. But I feel like that the resume, like you said, is a trademark. And somehow I struggle because there is sometimes MS Word format as well. So what basically works out, given the time, like we are living Canvas also, or people are going for PPT as well. So how can we have the effective resume format to reach out to our employees or the organization we want to work with?
Niti, would you like to answer this? I think this is right up your alley.
I think there are a lot of now free templates available online that you can use. But I would highly recommend doing a PDF format, because no matter what tool the employer is using, the PDF format doesn't get screwed up. So using a PDF resume or even converting your Word document into a PDF format and then uploading is the best way to do it, because a Word or a PPT normally doesn't open up in the best way in everybody's computers. So convert your Word and PPT into a PDF. Use there are a lot of nice fancy templates available, but make your resume as simple as possible, highlighting your skills, the right skills for the right job that you're applying, and the right experience that you have. So if you're applying for a German teacher job, for example, then please highlight only those skills and that experience that will help you get the job, rather than your other skills that you might have. But if you're specifically asking me for a format, there's not one format that I really recommend, but a PDF is the normal file that I really would like to see resumes in.
I would also agree it's easier to open it on across devices.
I would just add,
Yeah.
I think recruiters have
Yes.
always now in the recent past mentioned, in addition to your Word document or PDF file, also have your LinkedIn profile to match that. Right. So people are going to look you up on LinkedIn if you are on LinkedIn. And I think that should be, that should complement what you have in your actual Word document, resume, or your PDF format.
That's true. And thank you for adding that point, because I think before anyone's invited for an interview, it's obvious they are always looked up on LinkedIn. Okay,
Not
so I
only
think
LinkedIn, Shikha, Sneha, I think all your social media handles, whatever you're uploading, if it's an open profile, please, don't be very personal or share. I see a lot of time these youngsters or these young professionals share a lot of personal things. Breakup ho gaya to dal diya, if anything happens. So don't share that. That is your personal life. But anything other than that, yes, if you're going on holidays, you're uploading your photos and all, it's fine, but don't share about your breakups and this and that, because that will definitely have a negative impact on the employer.
yeah, I think social media management has become important. With this, we'll move to the second person, Harshita. Can we unmute Harshita? She has a question as well.
Yes, ma'am. Can you hear me?
Hi, Harshita.
Yes, ma'am. I wanted to ask that vaccine will be out anytime now. So, if an industry is highly affected, is manufacturing industry. So, I wanted to ask, what are your thoughts about the people working in the manufacturing industries? There are a lot of people who work in small scale in manufacturing industries. So, do you think that there will be like better conditions for them?
Shikha, do you wanna, or Niti? I think you already unmuted.
No, I was just going to say, in the manufacturing industry, it kind of also depends on the role you are in. So whether you're in a finance role, you're in the HR role, or you're actually on the floor in the manufacturing department, it kind of depends on what role you are in for the manufacturing industry. But the manufacturing industry will pick up, once the vaccine's out, and we are more comfortable working around with people. So, but once again, it depends on which role you really are in, Harshita. Sorry if I'm not able to really answer your question, but it depends on the role.
Yeah, I think there has been a big shift in supply chain as well. I think that was the biggest impact, right? We saw in terms of plants shutting down and materials not reaching. But we're seeing things getting back to, if not 100%, obviously we're seeing a lot more movement of goods and, whether it's in the automotive industry or in any other sector that is dependent on manufacturing and supply chain. So there is a shift, certainly. But only time will tell how effective the vaccine is.
I hope that answers your question, Harshita. I think we're also almost at the end of our time. So I will move on to final takeaways and, just final tips, final key takeaways for our audience. Niti, do you want to start?
I think staying positive is the biggest takeaway. We are moving to a better 2021. The vaccine is surely here. Will Staying positive, upskilling yourself, networking. I think those are the key points we have highlighted. And stay motivated, stay happy. I'm sure we'll have a better year.
Thank you,
So,
Niti.
Okay, so my takeaways would be that, as Niti rightly said, stay positive is one very important thing. Second is be a continuous learner, because even if it's a job thing or you want to start your own business at one point of time in future, that is one thing which is really going to be of help. So be a continuous learner. Try to learn as many things as possible, and also try to apply what you are learning, whatever you are learning. So just don't learn for the sake of it, but also see where you can apply, whatever you have learned. So yeah, that is very, and key soft skills very important according to me. I'm a soft skill trainer also. So that is the one thing which is going to stay no matter which industry you are in or you're from. So keep building your soft skills as well.
I think for me, just everything that was already shared, stay positive, continue to learn and grow. If you have some time off, take some time to reflect on the past year, reflect on your career so far, reassess where is it that you would like to go. And, we've all learned something new. We've all grown in the last 8 months. So acknowledge that and use that and keep that momentum going.
Thank you for sharing these points. I mean, for me, apart from this, of course, networking, staying positive, all that is the most important aspect. But yeah, just realizing the importance of data, doing your homework, doing that research on what you want to do is another takeaway for me. And apart from that, talking to you all, I do feel that it's quite positive. The expectations are good. We don't, focus has changed. Maybe some things are suffering, but there are opportunities elsewhere. We just need to know where to look. And we need to trust in ourselves and be confident that our skills are worth it. So with that, I would like to thank the panelists. Thank you for actually spending this time with us and sharing your insights and your experiences. And a very, very big thank you to the audience for being so interactive, for actually asking these questions and being part of our conversation today. Thank you all. See you next
Thank
time.
you so much.
Thank
Thank
you
you,
very much.
Sneha. Thank you, all my
Yeah.
co-panelists, Big Thoughts Qween, everybody. Thank you so much. It was a great time I had.
Thanks,
Thank
Sneha.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.